Hi everyone, and thanks for watching Sab's Top 10 Totally Offbeat Paris Things to Do. This was an article which was first asked for by a great travel website called gotsaga.com, and I subsequently published it on my blog, Paris blog, which is called Paris If You Please. You can get it by going to parisifyouplease.com, and this was kindly sponsored by sabssecretparis.com. Right, that's enough web addresses. What I'm going to do is just go through the article, and those are the images that you're going to see, and I'm going to use the text to inspire me. You can look at the article yourself by going to a web address which I couldn't begin to tell you, but I'm going to put it in the video here. Here? Okay, here. Yes. Alright, let's get on then. So as I say in the introduction, here we are. When I was asked to produce this list of top 10 offbeat or unusual things to do in Paris, it was a bit of a challenge. I'll tell you why. Because so many people write about Paris, even the stranger, lesser known stuff has been written about. You know, I did a search on the internet on some of my stranger ideas, and yep, sure enough, there were articles about them. But you know, hey, what can you do? So I thought, in the end, well, let's just get on with it. I'm afraid the Eiffel Tower isn't in there. Neither is Notre Dame, Sacré-Cœur, and all the rest of those famous places. So I've tried to get away from those ones. Having said that, I make no apologies. I make no claims that this is an amazing list. It's a very personal list, and it was perhaps the first 10 unusual, let's say offbeat, you could even say cool things to do which aren't in the usual tourist guides. So let's go through it then. Here's the first one, and I call it "Come on down to the Catacombes." All right. Well, the Catacombs. Let me see if I can get the hang of how this scrolling thing works. It's not very fluid, sorry. Alright, come on down to the Catacombs. I had reservations about including this, and also reservations about making it number one, because a lot of people know about the Catacombs. But then I said to myself, yeah, but it's amazing. It is a crazy place, and not many cities in the world have a place like this. You go to Denfert-Rochereau and you pay money. It's a Paris museum, but it ain't like any Paris museum you're ever going to visit. And it's not necessarily the sort of thing you do on your first visit. You go down a steep spiral set of stairs into the depths of the old quarries of Paris. And what they've done is they've taken about 6-7 million dead Parisians from some graveyards which were heaving at the seams from the middle of Paris and elsewhere, and they were having problems, hygiene problems, unfortunately. People's basements in their houses were bursting, the walls were bursting, and bones were coming through. So they had to do something. Plus it was right next to the Les Halles market, which wasn't very sanitary. So they moved all these bones to this place, and you walk through a whole load of passages for a while. And eventually, and there's these strange inscriptions on the walls as well, and eventually, after having passed 2 or 3 very interesting little curiosities, you just get to walls and walls of bones, artistically arranged, beautifully evocative patterns of bones. So that's my number one. Right, let's go to number 2. That's a photo, by the way. Most of these photos are taken on my iPhone. There are other makes of smartphone available, and they probably do more or less the same thing. I just happen to have that brand. And I do have a blog, quick website plug coming up, called Paris and I, which publishes an iPhone photograph every day. Alright, let's go down to number 2. This is a sneaky one, actually. It's called Follow the Street Art Trail. Paris is just stunning for street art. I divide street art into 2 types. The first type is slogans on walls and also what they call tags, which is people putting their names or their street names in very, very fancy letters on the walls, normally air sprayed. And that's one side. But then I don't. The problem is often it's not in a very nice place, and sometimes they don't respect monuments and things like this. And sometimes it's just scrawl. Then the other side is a bunch of amazing artists who take their art to the streets, and it's real art. And there's a whole bunch of them. I've given the names of some of them. So basically my suggestion is wander around the streets of Paris looking for street art, and what you can do is choose a particular artist and try to find as many of their paintings as you can. And if you choose someone amazing, I've given a list of them here, of my favourites and the best known. I mean, if you choose someone like Mystique, who does, it's a woman, she paints a silhouette woman with a type of slogan. I've interviewed her for my Paris If You Please site, and it's very, very clever. It's always a play on words, and there's a sort of semi-feminist angle, but she's not a real feminist, not as such. And then there's a whole load of others. The white man that you might see all over the place is Jérôme Ménager. There's Space Invader, does those little sort of Space Invader type characters. He's done a new serious campaign, and he's everywhere. Wherever you look, you can find him. And there's a whole bunch of them. I must admit, I'm a little bit sneaky. Oh, Gregos, I'm going to tell you, he's the guy who does the masks of his face. He's put his face, and he paints them and does them on the walls of Paris. And finally, I must admit, this is Infinity Squared, is a new Paris street artist who I think is just absolutely amazing, really fantastic. Look for him. I think he's even got a website, Infinity Squared. It's those letters, infini2.com, and maybe you'll recognise the author of that one. Okay, right, number 3, after the Paris graffiti street trail, is the Passages of Paris. I've called it Book Your Passage to Paris. If you didn't know, Paris is very famous for passages. These were created a century and a half ago or so, and they were to allow people to walk and shop in a covered area, which wasn't along muddy streets and so on when they were up in all their finery. And what's nice is that the passages are still there in various states of decay. Some of them are great, some of them are superb. I mean, they're all great to look at, but some of them are getting a bit weathered and worn. Look at this one. It was a Galerie Vivienne. This was taken on my iPhone. I added this starry effect, and there happened to be a woman with red shoes going past. It was one of the most glorious, most fabulous ones, with lovely shops and very glamorous and everything. And yet look at it now, Galerie, and the name Vivienne didn't quite survive, and it's been replaced by these tiles here. So go through the passages of Paris, discover them. They are amazing, and in the article I give a list of a few of them. Okay, my next quirk, number 4, is the Japanese garden at the Jardin Albert-Kahn. It was a philanthropic banker who it was at the dawn of modern photography as we know it. He sent people around the world to record what they found in remote cultures and countries on the latest... Hello? Are you still there? Yeah, sorry about that. What I forgot to tell you at the beginning of this video is that it's being made with headphones and microphone, which are a combination of searing leading edge technology and sticky tape, and sometimes the sticky tape decides to go on strike, so that's what happened. Sorry about that. Thought I'd leave it in so that you're talking with a real human being. Alright, so where was I? The Jardin Albert-Kahn. This rich banker philanthropist decided to create this beautiful garden with some of his funds. He had this place near Boulogne, and the reason why I've included it, as I maybe said, is because it's on the Paris Metro, so that'll do for me. And in this garden are about 4 or 5 different themes. One is the main one that is a good reason to go there is the beautiful Japanese garden. It's absolutely lovely. and you can honestly believe yourself way from the hustle and bustle and pollution and métro boulot dodo. That's the daily grind of Paris if you go there. They've also got an English garden, a French themed garden, and a couple of woods which are based on themes which were close to Mr. Albert-Kahn's heart. Right, number 5. This one I've called, if I can set it up right, sorry about this, it's probably making your eyes go kind of weird. Become a Quirks and Curiosities hunter. Now, this is a bit of a plug for my 20 free Paris Curiosity articles, but I won't go on about that here. Basically, I suggest you go around Paris looking for strange curiosities, historical, architectural, or just downright weird. Here's one of them, and it's one of my absolute favourites. If I can just line it up, okay, there we are. It's one of the old toilets from yesteryear, when men were allowed to go into these sort of cabin things. They were open air and relieve themselves effectively in public. And there's only one left in all of Paris. And that's just a hint of what you will discover if you do sign up for my series, my free series of 20 Paris Curiosities, including things like, and I list them here, you'll discover when is a door not a door, who's the woman without a head, who's the man who can walk through walls. There's an amazing sculpture on the side of the Louvre, which you wouldn't expect to see there. What else? There's a new fountain which has a little secret, and so it goes on. So I recommend that with the help of my series of 20 articles, you hit the streets running and look for some of the strange quirks and curiosities that are out there. For the person who wants to get under the skin of Paris, it's not the sort of thing you would do on your first visit, admittedly, and rightly so. You've got to get to the Eiffel Tower and Sacré-Cœur and all the rest of it, Montmartre. But this is the sort of thing you could look into if you want something a little bit or very different. Alright, number 6. Walk the abandoned Petite Ceinture railway. There used to be this railway that went all the way around Paris, and it's not used anymore. Some of its lines have been, some of the old tracks have been sort of adopted by new railways, but there's a large amount of it which is still there, hidden away, and you can find traces of it in 3 or 4 of the Paris parks. Actually, not everyone knows about this, but you can, and you can also, there's a section of it in the 16th arrondissement, which is sort of a rather posh area, but there's a section of it there which has been turned into a public walk, and you can walk along. Not the one we see here. That's a glimpse from one of the parks, Parc Montsouris, in fact. But you can actually walk along this for a little while and imagine yourself way back when this little train chugged around Paris, linking all the main stations. Alright, that'll do for that one. Number 7, a slightly more somber one, but very striking, and a very strong experience if you do go there. It's just around the back of Notre Dame. It's amazing. Not very many people know that it's there, or not many tourists seem to make it there. And yet there's this little park on the tip of the island, just across the road from the Notre Dame gardens. And it's the memorial to the deportation, and it's very moving. It's been constructed in a way in which envelops you. You actually have to descend into an atmosphere which is almost claustrophobic. Very tall walls, narrow passages, and a very moving monument. The walls inscribed with various writings on this topic. So that's one to do if you're of that inclination. You want a deeper experience. Number 8, climb a mountain in a park. I say there's a lot of parks in Paris, absolutely beautiful ones. One which is just a little bit further out than normal and therefore doesn't get so many visits, certainly not on people's first visit to Paris, is the Parc des Buttes-Chaumont. And it's got a mountain in the middle. and it's really beautiful. I mean, the mountain's beautiful. It's got bridges going across. It's got a lovely lake. It's got lovely walks with little waterfalls, and that's definitely one to check out. Right, moving on. We've only got 2 left. I've probably gone on too long already, as I tend to do. This one is follow the old Philippe Auguste wall. Philippe Auguste was one of the kings of France about 800 years ago, and he led a crusade. And before he did that, he thought, hey, I'm off. Paris is going to be unprotected. I'll build a wall. And he built a wall indeed. And there's a lot of traces of it still remaining. It's been incorporated into the fabric of Paris, but it's affected Paris in many ways. In some cases it's still there, as you can see in this photograph. In other cases it's not there, but you can see its effect on the architecture of the city and the layout of the streets. In the article I give you information on how to find out more about how to do an actual walk trying to follow the old trail of the wall on both the left bank and the right bank, and you can. Right, my final totally offbeat thing to do in Paris is go shoot Parisians. You may know I'm a Paris street photographer, and there's nothing I like better than shooting Parisians, but it's with a camera, rest assured. There aren't dead bodies lying all over the streets after one of my trips. And Paris is a photographer's paradise. Humanistic photography, which is the art of taking photographs of people leading their lives in the cities that they live in, was invented in Paris with great black and white photographers. I mean, the photographers weren't black and white, the pictures were. Robert Doisneau, Willy Ronis, Henri Cartier-Bresson, to name but 3. And it's a fantastic place to go out there, and people seem to like being part of that atmosphere. I don't know, maybe I'm saying too much here, but Parisians seem to enjoy being part of this almost living history, living movie set. I think there's more movies shot in Paris than any other city in the world anyway, but they lead their lives as though they were on stage or they were being filmed, and there are some great sights to see if you do that. I run photography tours, by the way. Did I mention? sabssecretparis.com. Anyway, those were my 10 totally offbeat Paris things to do. I hope you enjoyed them. You never know, there might be another 10 coming along shortly, because I was quite excited about the idea. Hope you've managed to follow me through this rambling video, and thanks for watching. See you again soon in Paris. Bye-bye now.
I put a spell on you, because